you've had, I would suggest that you haven't had any hearings where the witnesses are opposed to the treaty. This is kind of interesting because I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I'm the second ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, and we had a hearing. The first hearing that we had, Madam Chairman, we had 4 witnesses. We had Secretary Chu, Secretary Clinton, Mullen, and Gates, all of whom were for the treaty. Now, we've gone through this before. I can remember back when, and I was not on the Foreign Relations Committee several years ago, Senator Lugar, when the Law of the Sea Treaty was passed out by a vote of 16-0. And it was going to just rush right through the Senate until, at that time, Republicans were a majority, and I was on the Environment Public Works Committee as well as the Armed Services Committee. And I insisted that we have hearings and have people who are both for and against that treaty at that time, which is the Law of the Sea Treaty. Well, we ended up defeating it. But I can assure you, if we had not had any hearings, Madam Chairman, where there is someone who is opposed to it, that it would have been defeated. I mean, that's what hearings are supposed to be all about. Now, we've had these hearings, some 17 witnesses so far, no witnesses in opposition to it. I don't know who thinks that can be reasonable, because it's not. Now, I don't mind being criticized. Normally, as Senator Lugar knows, historically I've been the skunk at the picnic many times. But in this case, as I study this treaty and I go through and on the floor, I won't go through this now because I've given 3 speeches on the floor where I do get down to some of the, into the weeds on this thing, such as the modernization, force structure, missile defense, and the verification. And there, obviously, I'm not going to go through that now, but since you brought up a couple of these things, let me just mention. If you look at force structure, this force structure it reduces, and we're talking about here delivery systems, the ICBMs to 420, the nuclear capable well, we only have 2 vehicles that can handle this from the air. That's the B-52 and the B-2. We would have 60 of them. And then as far as the SLBMs, the submarine launched ballistic missiles, we would be reducing down to 240. Well, right now we have 720. If you add that up, that's 700. And I asked Secretary Gates, I've asked everyone, can you tell me where the other 20 are going to come from? And people don't have the answer. I've been very much concerned on, as I hope others are, on the technical disparity, the technical weapon disparity between the United States and Russia. And anyway, they have 10-to-1, their ratio over ours. And as far as, Madam Chairman, you made the statement that this does not affect the missile defense system. I would only suggest that if you, Sergei Lavrov stated, he's the Russian foreign minister, we have not yet agreed on this missile defense issue, and we are trying to clarify how the agreements reached by the 2 presidents correlate with the actions taken unilaterally by Washington, and added that Obama administration had not coordinated its missile defense plans. Now listen to this, Madam Chairman. In a unilateral statement by the Russian side, and this is back on the day shortly after this was signed, they said, this is in Prague, April 8th, the treaty can operate and be viable only if the United States of America refrains from developing its missile defense capabilities quantitatively and qualitatively. Now, I could go on, but I'm sure that you've heard this before. You've heard that there is objection to this, and you've also seen something that was an advertisement in today's, well, what was this? In Politico today, Madam Chairman, and it was an advertisement by Partnership for a Secure America, a group that is criticizing me because I've not attended these. And I made the statement that until we have a hearing where there's at least one witness in opposition to it, I'm not going to. I made this statement after I attended the first one with those 4 witnesses. So what I'm going to do is hopefully some of the witnesses, and I think that perhaps Mr. Joseph might be the one who would be most knowledgeable in these areas, might want to address some of the things that I have said, both on the floor and now. So I would only say on this nasty blog that came out of me, it doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me because it happens every day. That was from the people who paid for and ran this ad talking about the fact that I was absent from these hearings. I want to make sure everybody knows that I have been absent for that reason, because I will continue to be absent until I see, Madam Chairman, that there's a committee with some witness on the committee who's opposed to it. I think we're going to see, you'll see me insisting on some hearings, some more hearings in the Armed Services Committee, but hopefully this committee could do the same thing. Now, I'm going to be here for a while. I have to excuse myself between 3 and 3:15 for a media call, but I'd like to hear some of the witnesses perhaps address some of the things that I've been saying, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Inhofe. I would just like to point out for the record that in my statement, I wasn't the one